So this topic, and it's just called growth. I'm going to start with the picture first. So I've got call it an Okie front, an under defense, and I'm giving you defensively what I think was one of the very first zone pressures that came to our game. And a gentleman by the name of Dick LeBeau, who's in the Hall of Fame, I took a picture. I have this picture on my phone, and we were at a workout, and I pulled my phone out and I went to the picture. I pulled it up and I said, "It's kind of cool you invented this." And he looked, he smiled, and he said, "You know, I'm proud of that." And I looked at him and I said, "Well, I would be too. It's driven a lot of us crazy." But Dick LeBeau played in this league and then coached, has had a great career and really was the father of the zone pressure at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I was a young coach, I'm going to say 1994, 95 at Miami University in Ohio. We got in a car. There are three of us that we drove from Oxford, Ohio over to Pittsburgh, and we were going to spend a day and a half really on a running scheme. You know, we were going to look at some two-back lead plays, G lead plays, you know, gap scheme runs that Pittsburgh was running very well. And so that was our trip, you know, that was our research. And look, we were going to be put in a room, I'm sure, with some film. They were in mini camp at the time. And, you know, if you phone ahead and you know somebody, we knew somebody that we were going to get a little film and be able to work and have access to maybe some of the stuff that they were doing. A gentleman by the name of Rod Earhart, the late Rod Earhart, who was a fabulous offensive coordinator in our league, was their offensive coordinator at the time of our visit. And there were three of us young coaches. We make a trip over, we get there. Sure enough, we're in a room and we spend the better part of a day looking at game tape, cut up tape, and studying Pittsburgh's offensive run game, basically. And at the end of that day, and this is, again, I'm going back to 94, Rod Earhart, the coordinator, poked his head in, asked how we were doing, checked on us, and then came into the room and began talking a little bit and talking football. And we're watching tape with him. And man, we just thought this was something, you know, here's the offensive coordinator and giving us some coaching points on this scheme. And at the very end of it all, and we were getting ready to head back the next day, Earhart drew up this zone pressure, just like I have it drawn now. And he said, "You guys better get ready for this. It's coming." And so it hadn't hit the college game yet, of course, and it hadn't hit the high school game yet. But we saw the picture and we stared at it. And I remember just looking at it. And look, the very first thing it did was break down your six-man protection, your West Coast offense, tight end and fullback out, free release protection. And all of the hots that you so-called had built into your routes were kind of foobarred a little bit. You know, your shallow crosses weren't open, playoff game, 49ers, Packers, tip ball, interception. You're hot to the fullback in the flat, gets hammered by the strong safety. So it took a minute. And then eventually, sure enough, a year or two later, we saw it in the college game. And then pretty soon you had to come up with answers and your protections. But I'll never forget that visit. And I'm on this topic of growth because we are in a race as young coaches. We're in a race for knowledge. All right. Because look, early in our career, I look back on when I first had the quarterbacks and receivers at Indiana State, you know, the responsibility I had was great because it was going to be the passing game. And yet my expertise didn't necessarily match the responsibility. I thought I knew and was eager to learn, but I am in a race to become competent here and have enough expertise to give them. You know, that saying knowledge is power is so true in our game because look, the younger coach oftentimes is going to talk more. There's certain inherent mistakes that they're going to make, but they're not going to be relative to energy, enthusiasm, effort, or any of those. But at some point, there still needs to be that expertise in knowing the subject matter. And this article I saw was outstanding on this topic. And hear me out when I say it, the highest level of mastery is simplicity. Now we all say, all right, but there's more to that. The highest level of mastery is simplicity. Most information is irrelevant and most effort is wasted, but only the expert knows what to ignore. And so, man, that's important. And we all, regardless of our defensive scheme, our offensive scheme, we are always in a race to grow. And because our competitors are, and in order to teach, they're counting on answers. And the players are, they're counting on the right answers. And one of the mistakes that I made early on, that so many young coaches make early on, is, I don't want to use the word overcoach, but we're not getting paid by the word. And so we would get caught up with a lot of communication, a lot of trying to explain. And at that point in time, we weren't empowered with the 2 words that give a picture for everything you want. You follow me? That we're looking for these teaching points, and then we're looking for the things that are important, and then learning very quickly what's